Hey guys, welcome to your belated video of Mercury in Aquarius Astrological Horoscope for January 31st. So first things note, yes, I know the video is late. We had a void of course moon and then some other problems occurring, and I wasn't able to get this video up on time before it actually occurred. Do apologize for that, but I am still going to be covering it for those interested and still wanting to see this video. We do have eclipse consultations up, so if you still really want to find out what happened with the eclipses, you can still grab that over at artsandmysticalservices.com. Links in the description below. So let's go ahead and jump into what's going on here, right? What ended up happening, right? So we have a number of things that we kind of really want to nail on. First of all, the big, reason why we're here today is because Mercury is entering, excuse me, that is the wrong video, or not video, but, chart here. Mercury will be entering, Aquarius here on 2018, not 17, at, January 31st. Interestingly enough, this is right after the lunar eclipse. As you can see, the moon is at 11 degrees, the sun is at 11 degrees, but the minutes are a little bit after. So this takes place after the lunar eclipse. Still, this is very significant. As we've talked about it for the rest of the month, we also have a number of placements such as the sun and Venus and Juno already being in the sign of Aquarius along with the south node. I'm not going to go over the big details of, hey, let's talk about Mercury, what it represents, I'm not going to show you the charts. This is the third time we've done Mercury. If you're still interested in that, go ahead and check out the basics of astrology. We know that Mercury is essentially our communications, our close environment. It's the way we think, it's our thought processes, it's the way that we communicate with others. It really revolves around the mind. When you think about the suit of swords in tarot, we talk about the mind. And so Mercury has really been representing us for a long period of time. And I want to say this because Mercury is finally coming into an air sign. What was the last time that Mercury was in an air sign? This is actually something that I really need to look up because I don't know the last time that Mercury has been in an air sign. If you guys remember, we had the Mercury retrograde happening in Sagittarius, which held Mercury there for a very long time. And most of December it was in there. November it was in Scorpio. Mercury hasn't been in an air signs since the end of Libra, which was in October 16th. And this is significant because obviously Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, which is an air sign, and it had to retrograde in Sagittarius, which is the falling position or the detriment position of Mercury, meaning that Mercury wasn't very comfortable being in Sagittarius. It was a very dark period in which it was about to go to Capricorn, and then it retrograded at the last second, and then it finally went into Capricorn. And what happens when it went through Capricorn? It had to go through the gatekeeper that was Saturn, initiating our karma, making sure that we were on point, making sure that we were working towards our karmic path. And then had to go through Pluto, which was all about, changing, bringing an end to the karma that we were trying to finish up. And so right now, as Mercury comes into Aquarius, this is a big karma clear for a lot of people. It's interesting because a lot of people don't necessarily relate Mercury to karma because it's Saturn. However, the exchange that Mercury and Saturn have been having since they were both in Sagittarius is what's making this call here, right? When it was in Sagittarius at the beginning of December, you guys remember that it passed over Saturn, then it retrograded over Saturn, and then it went over Saturn again when it was in Capricorn. It was a very hard time period in which Mercury was really having to understand and work on and realize that karma is very important. And so that's what Mercury was doing with Saturn. Of course, once Saturn was in Capricorn, it began ruling karma again after, no longer screwing over Sag and teaching them lessons for 2.5 years. Now that Saturn is back in Capricorn, this is a very karmic time, next 2 years that we're kind of in. And so Mercury got the big blunt of it as it passed through. And so going through lessons to be learned, through transformations that it needed to eventually, do or experience, things that needed to come to a death and things that need to be born as it leaves the house of karma. This is almost like Mercury coming out of prison, right? Mercury was in prison for a little close to a month in there, and then finally it's like, I'm a free man, I get to walk the streets again, right? This is Mercury finally coming out to the streets. This is Mercury having learned its lesson, gone through all of the rough times that it was in there, and it's like, I just survived Scorpio. I just survived a retrograde in Sagittarius. I just survived the Karma Lord in Capricorn. I am so glad to be out. And what does Mercury find in Aquarius as it comes out? It finds the Sun, it finds Venus, it finds the South Node, and it finds Juno. Mercury is ecstatic right now. Starting, technically not today, but the 31st forward, as Mercury is in Aquarius, this is a huge moment for Mercury as it comes out into an air sign. And the first thing that it sees is a lunar eclipse. It's like, whoa, I just came out of prison on like the most monumental day I can find in an air sign. What? Like, Mercury is flipping his shit. He is like truly ecstatic right now. And so, having gone through a lot of those transits, Mercury is very glad to finally be out. This is a very big time period for Mercury and as a collective for all of us, right? Because being in the sign of Aquarius, our mentality begins to shift, right? Remember that Mercury rules our thought process, the way that we think and the way that we kind of interact with our environment. Mercury here is leaving the sign of Capricorn, which is all about structures, routines, doing things over and over and over and over and over again until you get good at it, right? And instead, it's entering the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius here is more about forward thinking. It's no longer doing those day-to-day routines that just drive you crazy. It's no longer about having structure and about having things be in a very how do I say this? Almost boring manner, but of course we had to do it because Mercury was in Capricorn and Saturn was teaching us a lesson so that Pluto can transform us. That's why we had to go through that transit of like almost imprisonment. Now that Mercury is coming out into Aquarius, we finally begin to do new things. It's kind of like a new year, new me. This is literally Mercury coming out and being like, you know what? I've learned my lesson. I've gone through transformations. I am going to go and I'm going to do things in a whole new way that's going to be really amazing. I'm not going to hold myself down to the old structures that I was forced to before because I had to learn lessons. No. I can invent things. I can create things. I can it's a scientist's wet dream moment of eureka. I've just invented X, Y, and Z. It's the programmer who finally gets a breakthrough in their coding and realizes that their program works flawlessly without any bugs. It's that moment of, you're trying to start up your business or something, and all of a sudden, boom, you get that contact that actually, or you remember you have a contact that will help you break through the problems that you were in. It's that eureka moment. It's that aha. It's that, it's original. It's unique. It's a spark of a moment. It's inventive. And so our thought process are going to shift into that way of thinking. And it's great Because if this is the way that we're thinking, and both Venus, which is the things that we like, is in this sign, and the sun is here, which is the things that we want. So we want things, we like the things we want, and we're thinking the way that we want things and we like things. Hey, that's fucking amazing. Not to mention, we also have Juno inside, which means we're going to be dedicated to the things that we're doing, that we like and that we want and that we're thinking about. And because the South Node is here, hey, we're really fucking good at this shit. Like, we're really good at this. And South Node is what you've already mastered. It's what you're good at. It's what you've already done before, which is often why people tell you stop chasing after the South Node, because you've already mastered the South Node. Go instead tackle the North Node, which is something you're supposed to be learning this time, or something you're supposed to be adopting. And with this case of the South Node, you tend to want to let go of it because you've already brought it to its highest possible level. So we're thinking this way. We're really good at what we're thinking. We want this, we like this, and we're dedicated to this. We have a lot of really good signs in Aquarius right now, so that we can really push forward for a lot of things. A lot of things. If you want to renovate something, if you want to start something new, if you want to break an old structure, if you want to break an old habit, if you want to completely redesign everything within your life, this is a really good time to do it, especially because we're having a well, let me slow down for a second. I wouldn't initiate changes right this moment, right? And the reason I say that is because we're having a full moon lunar eclipse, right? You don't want to start anything new during a full moon. You know what you want, you know what you like, you are dedicated to it, you're really good at it, and now you're beginning to think about it in this manner. Take those thoughts that you're now thinking in, flesh out a plan that is not too restrictive, provides a lot of freedom and flexibility, but make a plan and implement them when the next new moon occurs, which the next new moon is going to be when the moon comes all the way around and we have the new moon in Aquarius. Oddly enough, right? That's fucking amazing. New moons is when you want to actually begin things. Full moon is when you're reaping in the rewards of things. So right now, Mercury is reaping in the fact that he is a free sign or free planet right now. He is super happy. So he is enjoying his time for the next 15 or so days. On the next new moon, it's technically going to be a solar eclipse. So we're going to have a video about solar eclipses then, which is going to highlight that even more. But yes, whatever you're coming into now that you're really enjoying, that you're really liking, that you really want to do, you can go ahead and dabble in it right now. You can kind of learn a little bit about it, get some knowledge, get some experience, because we do have Mars in Sagittarius, which means it's time to do research. It's time to adventure, because we got Vesta in there as well. You're going to really like it. Do your research, do your planning, do your preparations. When the next new moon hits, which is the solar eclipse, go ahead and begin implementing that for a long-term period, right? Right now, you're just dabbling for short-term knowledge. When the solar eclipse hits, go for the long-term game. That's what you want to do then, especially because we do still have Uranus in Aquarius. We have the ability to create radical changes on impulse. Remember, Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, and being in the sign of the self, this is a really big time for beginnings, for starting things, for pushing forward with fire energy mind. We don't have a whole lot of water energy right now. There's not a whole lot of emotions going through. The only planet we have is Neptune in Pisces, which is a big illusion dream. But I mean, soon enough, we're going to have Venus going in there as well. Mars just left Scorpio. So there's not a whole lot of water energy. There's not a whole lot of emotions that you need to play into this. There is still some spirituality in it, of course. But right now, you want to use your mind. You want to use your passion and your energy, your spark, your fire, your courage, really. Because to start anything new, it requires courage, right? That's why we have this lunar eclipse. If you guys saw that video of in Leo. This is all about courage. This is about passion. This is taking the things that you've already mastered, that you want, that you like, that you're dedicated to, that you're thinking about, and really pushing things forward. Really nurturing this. Really exploring, having the courage to come out of your tin shell and go out there and do the things. So it's time to take an adventure. We've been saying it for a while. So very interesting that that's what this Mercury is about. Obviously, at the beginning of the cast, I started off with the wrong map here because I was taking a look at where Mercury was last year. And Mercury didn't enter Aquarius last year until February 7th. At that point, the only thing that was actually here was the sun. So we were thinking this way and we were liking these type of things, but there was really nothing else going on here. Mars and Venus were with Uranus up in Aries. The North Node was still in Pisces. Jupiter was in Libra, so there was a little bit of air energy, but it's just like this was not very conducive moving forward. Saturn was still in Sagittarius at the time, so it was like there wasn't a whole lot of energy to really push things forward, except for probably Venus and Mars both being in Aries, which of course was a big awakening moment for everyone because we had a lot of changes happening and a lot of awakenings throughout that entire year. 2017 definitely the year of a huge boom and a rise in spirituality for people, but that's not necessarily the case this year. This year it's really about not reusing the same wheel. You know how a lot of people say there's no need to reinvent the wheel? Yes, there is. Yes, there is. This year is the year of reinventing the wheel. It's literally about having that breakthrough that's going to push technology to further heights. It's going to push us away from the Capricornian structures, especially as Saturn is now restructuring everything that Pluto demolished as it finally caught up to Capricorn. This is the beginning of the end for the old. Not necessarily the beginning of the end, but the beginning of the end of the old. This is when all of the old traditional structures are beginning to completely crumble and are restructured. And during the restructuring and the rebuilding, we are going to implement things and ways to make ourselves more free, more innovative, more connected to community members, to associations, to our contacts, to be able to get things done. That's what this year is shaping up to be like, according to our Mercury here being in Aquarius, at least for the most part, this transit. I say year because we also do have this whole lunar eclipse happening at the same time. It's kind of crazy. It really is. But that's really just it right now. So not a very long video, guys. Hopefully this helps you guys out. Again, I do apologize for not being able to come out with a Thursday video. It was just a really bad day. I'll be back in just a moment with your Friday cast as well. If you still want some lunar eclipse readings, check them out over at the description below. As we begin February, we are going to also be offering a discount on some services that we got going on there, so check out the site regularly to see what's going on. Once things go live, I will be giving you guys the updates on all of that. So exciting changes coming soon. But yeah, with that said, thank you all for watching. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. Really hope so. Stay safe, stay positive, and I will catch you guys on the next cast. Peace.